I'm delighted to introduce you to Gill Jones, the Deputy Director of Early Education at Ofsted, who's joining us for today's Foundation Years podcast. So Gill, thank you for joining us today for this podcast. Ofsted's clearly an important organisation within the early years world, a really important role in improving quality, and an organisation that is very much part of the lives of early years providers, often getting quite a reaction from providers too. I wondered if you could tell us how you thought that Ofsted was currently working to improve the quality of early years, and how you thought early years was doing.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. Clearly, Ofsted's main drive is to improve quality in the early years. We do that through our inspection frameworks, and every so often we adjust those frameworks to raise the bar and improve quality further, because we really want to get the very best outcomes for children. We know that the first few years of a child's life is absolutely essential. The quality of education and care that they get in those early years is essential for the development of their future. So it's a crucial role, but it's also a really difficult role because, of course, through inspection, not everyone comes out as outstanding. And so where settings are less than outstanding, where provision is found to be less than outstanding, Ofsted should act as a driver to help those settings to improve. No parent would want to send their child to a setting that was less than good, so that's our first driver. In a sense, our annual report that Sir Michael Wilshaw makes to the Secretary of State is the key driver for how we're going to improve the sector. Annual report that we launched in April, we set out that we felt that there was some confusion for parents and for the sector itself in terms of our different inspection frameworks. So at the moment, behind the scenes, we're busily working away to try and get our inspection frameworks aligned so that we can have similar judgments for schools, for early years settings, for everywhere where young children are educated.
So you mentioned there the annual report for early years, and within it Sir Michael made quite a feature of the importance of schools for early years and the leadership roles for schools in taking that forward. There is some concern from the sector, of course, about schools and the so-called schoolification of early years. I know that you've gone some way to reassure the sector that it isn't all about schools delivering this. I wondered if you'd like to say a little bit more about that.
No, this is very much about partnership work. We know that where children get the best start, there is a smooth transition between home, between private and voluntary settings or childminders and schools, and then once they get into school, the transition between schools. Where children really succeed well, it's where that works smoothly. And so what was behind our thinking is where there are really strong leaders, local leaders of communities that run extremely good schools, where children get good outcomes, but before children get to school they work with parents and with providers so that the expectations of what a child needs to do by the time they start school are clear. We know that where children aren't well prepared for school, where they, for example, have very little speech or language, or where they are not toilet trained, where they're not able to do some pretty fundamental things, then actually that becomes quite difficult for a school to manage. They're not set up for that. So if we work with parents, with providers, to say the sort of things that children need to learn before they go to school, then that's really what was behind what we were saying.
Now, there is the concern raised sometimes about the consistency of inspections across the regions of the country. that's not something that I know is something you'd want. I wondered if you thought that that's something that was a reality, was something of the past, and what it meant for the future.
Some providers have talked to us about consistency, and it's something that we would want to encourage. We have an inspection framework, we have guidance for inspectors, we train our inspectors, and through those three things, that's how we ensure consistency. But there is never going to be absolute consistency between inspections, because settings themselves are different. So you will have, when you're on inspection, you will see similar things with different outcomes, and that can be perceived by the sector as a lack of consistency, but actually it's just because the settings themselves are very different. So we do ensure that our inspectors apply the framework in a consistent way through our quality assurance processes, but we are looking at those all the time to improve them, so that we ensure that inspection is as good as it can be.
There was an announcement over the summer about the end or the changes to complaints-driven inspections, which is something which we know has been something that a lot of early years providers have struggled to cope with. Now, complaints clearly are very important and need to be taken seriously and investigated, but you are changing the way you manage them. Do you want to tell us what that means?
Absolutely. We looked at our inspection outcomes, we looked at our risk assessment processes for complaints, and we decided as a result of that to remove the brought forward inspections where someone had written in to complain and we were going out within 3 weeks of the complaint. We have kept the priority inspections, so if the complaint looks urgent, then we will go out and inspect within 5 days. But the brought forward inspections we have removed, and any issues will be registered and looked at the next routine inspection.
Ofsted has some dialogues that are being undertaken at the moment, some consultations underway. Can you tell us what consultations are out at the moment and when we need to respond by?
Well, we've just finished our childminder agency work. Obviously, we've just put on the website our childminder agency guide to registration. We've already had some applications for that, which we're very pleased about. So all our new documentation to do with childminders are up on the website. Very shortly we'll also be producing the inspection frameworks for childminder agencies as well. We've been out consulting with the sector informally about looking at the way that we report on inspections. We've met with a lot of parents, we've gone to children's centres and sat in their centres and put out some displays of what reports could look like, and had a really positive response from those. So we're looking to make our reports about providers much clearer for parents, much shorter. At the moment they're about 12 pages long. We're intending to reduce them to about 3 pages. So anyone that wishes to comment on that, welcome to contact us. That's an informal consultation that we're doing at the moment.
Finally, 2 points. What next for Ofsted and early years? And you've said that you want to continue to engage and talk with the sector. How do you see that going?
What's next is we very much do want to continue to engage with the centre, with providers. What we are using much more is our regional working. Within Ofsted we have 8 regions. Each region has a regional director, and every regional director has an early years team which is headed up by a senior HMI. The senior HMI is very keen to work with providers, with local authorities, with people in the regions that provide childcare, so that we can improve the sector. We have been rolling out some Getting to Good seminars for providers that are not yet good. We intend to extend that work to include some providers that are inadequate in that work, and also to include childminders in that work. We've got a pilot at the moment running in the Northwest where childminders who are not yet good have been invited to some seminars to improve. So we very much want to base our improvement on a regional basis, which of course feeds into national policy. So I meet regularly with my regional officers, and we work together to look at how we can improve the sector system-wide, and also to hear what the sector is saying to us.
So thank you to Gill Jones from Ofsted for joining us today and for a really useful and valuable discussion around Ofsted and early years.